All right, what's good, guys? We are back with the final part of this boot camp. It's been a long time coming, but we are here. So today we're going to go over long-term health, protecting your heart, kidneys, fertility, and managing blood work. After everything is said and done, just to make sure that you are prioritizing longevity, you're prioritizing your long-term health. That's how you should always be viewing this game. That's probably why you viewed the boot camp up to this point. Just because of your long-term health. This is all we're doing here. We're just mitigating sides, making sure that you're not running into long-term damage so that you can live a good, healthy life while utilizing these compounds to get a quick physique, right? So I'm going to hop right into this one. Now, this is really important here, okay? It's just going to be a long overview of everything we've gone over and just making it short story long, basically, okay? Or long story short. So part 20 here is going to be long-term health, protecting your heart, kidneys, fertility, and managing blood work. So let's get right into this. Okay, cardiovascular health strategies, very important for your heart. You want to monitor lipids annually, aim for HDL above 50 and LDL less than 100, good and bad cholesterol. Okay, you have to keep these in range. Triglycerides also have to be less than 150. Now, always have to incorporate cardio, okay? Always. If you're going to take home something from this part, always do your goddamn cardio. Do not skip. A lot of people do this, and it ends up biting them in the ass. This is the only way your heart is going to be stimulated. It will maintain your long-term cardiovascular health by just doing cardio, okay? 150 minutes moderate weekly to improve heart efficiency is very crucial. Omega-3 supplementation as well, around 2 to 3 grams EPA to DHA daily for anti-inflammatory effects. Always take your omega-3 supplements. Very important here. You want to control your BP as well, your blood pressure. Keep it under 130 over 80, specifically on blast. Okay, when you're off, you should be aiming for less than 120 over 80, but while you're on, less than 130 over 80 is ideal, is perfect. Just keep in mind, when you hop on these compounds, your BP is expected to increase slightly. It should not fucking skyrocket, but it will increase slightly, so keeping it under 130 over 80 is perfect, and you will be good. You don't want this to be chronically at this range, but only on blast is one that is an okay range to be at, okay? Use potassium-rich foods and stress management to keep your BP under control, and if you're taking compounds that will increase your blood pressure, like Tren, like compounds that'll bloat you up, Deca, just make sure that you're minimizing that dosing, okay? And if your BP does start skyrocketing, you should have a cuff to make sure that you're keeping this in range. If it is skyrocketing, you need to make a change, right? Now, next up here is avoid smoking and excess alcohol. Specifically on cycle, you shouldn't do this regardless, but on cycle, you absolutely can't be doing this shit in excess. Both compound vascular risks, all right? And just overall health complications. Smoking is horrific. Alcohol is horrific. It can cause a lot of problems. I would steer clear of these two factors in total. But when you're on blast, you have two fucking choices. You either do this, you party, you smoke, you drink, or you take the compounds. You take the test, the cycle, okay? It's one or the other. You mix them, you're going to run into really, really catastrophic scenarios, okay? Now, next up here is kidney and liver protection. Stay hydrated. 4 to 5 liters of water daily, more on training days. Always drink a shit ton of water. That will keep you healthy, okay? You always want to stay hydrated. You cannot be dehydrated. Staying hydrated allows your body to flush everything out daily, and it just allows it to work at its most optimal potential. Now, you want to limit NSAID use. Opt for alternatives to reduce kidney strain. Important. Cycle support ongoing. Keep this ongoing even post-cycle, okay? Until you are off everything and your labs are back to normal. If you're taking orals, NAC, milk thistle for liver enzymes, TUDCA is another great one. Keep this going after the cycle is done. Just keep taking the same supplements until your cycle's done, until your PCT is done, until the cruise is done, until you know that your bloods and your labs are back to normal. At that point, you can switch around your sup protocol, but you want to keep all this shit the same. Don't change it, just keep it the same. And this will adjust based on your labs, of course. Let's say that you're taking Anavar, Anadrol, right? Your liver enzymes are shooting through the fucking roof. If you're taking the NAC and milk thistle, that's not doing the job. You have to adjust, probably increase the dosing, maybe add in some TUDCA, or just reduce the dose of the oral, okay? That's going to be your main point of action for any side. Just reduce the goddamn dose, because the higher the dose, the worse the sides are going to be. But if you're at a low dose, you're still running into this shit, you got to make sure that you are properly taking care of all your supplement doses, okay? Make sure you're adjusting things accordingly. Now, blood markers as well. Track creatinine. This is for your kidney, less than 1.2 at all times. EGFR has to be above 90 ALT and AST for your liver is going to be less than 40. It should be within that range. Now, keep in mind with your kidneys, as I mentioned previously, creatinine and EGFR, if this shit gets out of whack, you get one set of kidneys. Once it's out of whack and into that dangerous range, you're at massive risk. And even if it gets to that point in general, you're setting yourself up for a massive disaster, because once that kidney goes, it's done, bro. Like, you have to make sure you're prioritizing your kidneys, taking compounds that will fuck with your kidneys. You have to make sure that you're keeping these doses low and you're always on top of your creatinine and EGFR. And liver's a little more forgiving. Okay, ALT and AST can take a little more hits, a little more damage without getting fucked. But you still have to make sure your liver's in check, of course. Everything gets processed through your liver, anything you ingest. So you have to make sure this is in check at all times. Now, diet focus as well. Low processed foods and moderate protein to ease organ load. Keep that in mind. Now, next up is your fertility preservation tactics. Very important if you're trying to remain fertile. Everyone should remain fertile. You shouldn't just have the subconscious mindset that you're going to be infertile. Taking the shit, you should not do that. Don't even take the fucking risk. Anything can happen in the future, right? Even if you have kids already, who fucking knows in the future, bro? Who knows what will happen with your kids? If you want another one, you don't really know until that time hits, and you want to have the option to be able to reproduce. Okay. So you want to use HCG during recovery. Always use human chorionic gonadotropin during recovery. 250 to 500 IU 2 to 3 times a week is a very stable basic dose, conservative. I have clients taking upwards of 5,000 IU a fucking week. Okay. It's very dependent on your genetics and how, receptive you are to the specific compound and how sensitive you are to it. Okay, that is to maintain testicular function. That will stimulate your testicles, right? So that's a very amazing compound. You should always include it during recovery phases. Now, a full PCT is essential, especially if you're new. If you're already intermediate/advanced, blast and cruise. Okay, you've already come to that conclusion. You're going to take this shit for the long haul, be on TRT. But if you're not at that point, a PCT is absolutely necessary when you're new. That's why I went over the whole PCT section in this camp. Make sure you're doing that shit if you're new. Include HMG if shutdown is severe. That is an option. It's pretty rare and it's pretty hard to get if you're going underground. But if your shutdown is severe, this can help massively, okay? Semen analysis is optional, but it should be required if you're trying to reproduce in the future. You want to get this done prior. You also want to get it done after the fucking blast is over, just to make sure that your fertility is preserved after the HCG protocol, after the PCT, after all that shit. Check motility and count post-recovery. Now, you also want to avoid high heat as well. Now, this goes overlooked all the time. No saunas or hot tubs during sensitive periods. That can fuck with your fertility. Now, this is obviously not the most fucking concerning part. Is a lot more things that you need to be on top of, but this can add to that fertility. Okay. So you want to make sure that you are avoiding high heat during those sensitive periods. Supplements as well. Zinc, 30 milligrams, selenium, and antioxidants for sperm quality is important. So just make sure that you're taking all your necessary supplements if you are trying to prioritize fertility. Okay. You want to make sure you're taking absolutely everything that you can to make sure that is being preserved. Now, it is very easy, by the way, to preserve your fertility. It shouldn't be one of those things where it's like, oh, well, it's a dice roll. Okay, it's not a fucking dice roll. If you're genetically sensitive to fertility, you will know pre-cycle. If you get that fertility test, you're going to know on that fucking fertility test, it'll tell you that you're not as fertile as your average male. If you are already running into fertility problems prior, you can almost guarantee that hopping on a cycle is going to make this shit worse. If you had good fertility prior to hopping on cycle, if you're fertile, if you have your semen's in range, okay, then you hop on a blast, it's going to be very easy to get that back into range with the proper protocol. But when you're on a blast, it can fuck with fertility. Some people don't have any problems at all. A cycle doesn't fuck with their fertility. Some people will, and it depends on the compound you're taking as well. So just understand that it's very genetically dependent on who is going to run into these problems, and you won't know unless you get your test, your labs, and your fertility check. So make sure you do that always. If you are trying to prioritize fertility, make sure you're doing this shit. Next up, here's blood work management protocol. Your baseline pre-cycle, full panel including hormones, lipids, CBC, and metabolic. Those are the 4 main crucial fucking panels that you have to get always during your labs, at least pre, mid, and post-blast. All right. If you're going in randomly, let's say that something was out of whack, your blood was too thick, or your hormones are fucked, or your kidney is being stressed, your liver is being stressed, then you go back and get that specific test for your blood, CBC, okay, for your organs, comprehensive metabolic, lipids, if you had cholesterol issues, lipids, okay, hormones, tests, estradiol, prolactin, whatever the fuck, hormone. You're going to go in there, get the specific test to make sure everything's back in range, but when you're doing your overall checkup, you got to include the core four, which is these four right here, hormone, lipid, CBC, and metabolic, okay, and for your metabolic, make sure it is the comprehensive metabolic panel. Now, on-cycle checks as well, weeks 4 to 6, and pre-PCT for adjustments, that would be the mid-cycle set of labs. Get this shit done, very important. And post-PCT, okay? 4 weeks after your last SERM, repeat after 3 months if needed. That is your core 3, okay? Your baseline pre, mid, and post. That's all you got to do. That's your mandatory set of labs that you have to get to make sure you're good. If you want to go a little fucking overkill with it, you can. You can get it done every couple weeks. I have clients doing that shit. It is up to you. But if you're going to do this the right way, at least get those 3 set of labs done, and you will have a very good idea on what's happening to your body because of the cycle, and you'll know if you recovered, and you'll know how you were prior, okay? Now, annual comprehensive, even off cycle, you want to catch trends early. So it's a good idea if you're not consistently cycling to at least get all 4 of these panels on at least once a year. Even if you decide to stop taking gear permanently, okay? That's why I do the PCT, so you can have that option. You still want to get this done yearly. When you go in for an annual checkup or a health whatever it is with a doctor, okay, they're not going to have you get these labs. A lot of the times for your annual checkups, they don't even have you get labs done in the first place. This really is going to give you an idea of how your body's working in general. So you should be getting this done once a year, regardless of whether you're on gear or not. You want to track in spreadsheet as well. Track everything. Be data driven. I've said this throughout the whole part of the fucking camp. Every goddamn part of this, I say data driven because it's true. Okay, graph changes over years for patterns. Always track everything. Absolutely track everything, bro. Since this is the last part, I'm just going to say this shit now. If you don't track shit, if you don't have the data in front of you, you're fucked, okay? You're guessing. It's bro science. If you're just fucking guessing based on how you're feeling, this is a recipe for disaster. You need to have the data in front of you. Track your progress. Track if you're running into plateaus, your labs, everything, bro. Just have it all in front of you. Your blood pressure, your heart function, everything. You should have it laid out via PDFs on your computer, on your phone, on notes, on physical notes if you're taking notes. Just have the data, because that's going to allow you to make such better decisions in the future. It will allow you to understand what is happening internally, what has happened from the blast. And it's really the only way you can win with this shit, okay? Be data driven so that you understand the outcomes. You understand what can go wrong, what can go right with this shit based on your own genetics and your own body. Everyone's different. I could tell you one thing that's happened to me, and it's going to be the complete opposite to you. They're general rule of thumbs. Okay, there's common sides that a lot of people run into per compound, and that's why certain compounds get specific reps because of this. But it's always different for everybody, bro. Like, I have clients that take Tren and they're fine. They love fucking Tren. They don't run into any negatives. I have some clients that take 50 milligrams of Tren and they're on their ass. Okay, because it's very dependent on genetics, how you are going to react to shit. Everybody's made differently. Everybody has a different set of DNA. Everyone's body is different. So it's very important to have that data for your specific body. Now, next up here is going to be bone density and joint health. It's been a long goddamn day, guys, but I'm so glad I'm getting this part out. Calcium and vitamin D, 1,000 milligrams plus 2,000 IU daily for bone support. All right, your bone density, God, I cannot say fucking bone, okay? Bone density and joint health, it's very important, okay? This can cause future injuries if you're not on top of this. Now, it's not the end-all be-all, but it is very important to keep this shit in range and to make sure that you do have proper bone density and joint health, okay? A lot of the times when people get injured, it's because of fucked up joints. You don't want to run into this. It also hurts like a bitch if you get dried out joints, okay, if you're taking a shred stack. Now, weight-bearing training as well. Compounds preserve density long-term, important. Collagen and glucosamine. If joint tissues arise from heavy cycles, okay, collagen and glucosamine can be very crucial and beneficial to you for joint issues, okay? Now, if you already have joint issues prior, I've mentioned this in a prior part of the camp, then you should already have these supplements as a part of your protocol, okay? Because again, it's very genetically dependent. Now, if you don't have joint problems, you start getting them from a blast. Majority of the time, it's going to be from a shred stack taking mass or trying or something that dries you the fuck out. That can cause you to have messed up joints. So taking these compounds is crucial. And if you already have joint issues, know this prior. Get your proper supplement stack set up for this specifically, and you're going to be good. DEXA scan every 2 to 3 years, especially after multiple blasts. This will give you a very good idea on progress. Also, balance your hormones. Avoid chronic high estrogen for bone protection. So when it comes to estrogen, if it's too high all the time, that can be fucked for your bones. Just make sure that your hormones are always balanced. And that's going to be easy to do if you're on top of your labs, if you're on top of the data, if you're getting the shit consistently, okay? Now, next up here is going to be endocrine system longevity. Let me get a quick sip. You want to limit your cycle frequency. 1 to 2 per year to prevent access desensitization. Now, taking 1 to 2 cycles per year is excellent for a recreational user. Now, if you're going to take this a little deeper, 2 to 3, maybe even fucking 4, if you're taking light blasts, but 3 is very typical. Okay. If you are a little more intermediate / advanced, just make sure you're allowing yourself that proper time to recover, but you can also push it a little harder. Now, if you're just a normal recreational user trying to get a quick physique, 1 to 2 per year is perfect. Do that shit for a few years. You'll be in an excellent place. Okay. Even if you just take a blast, take 1, come off permanently, you'll still be in a better place than you were prior. But your first cycle is always a trial period. So you should not expect some crazy ass results during your first cycle. This should only be your test grounds with a low dose of test to figure out how you're going to react, to figure out all this shit, have all the data in front of you. And then you can get into the actual progress deeper down the line on your second blast onwards. That's when you see real progress. Your first cycle is always data, just data collection on how your own body works. But for your endocrine system, 1 to 2 per year is perfect. Okay. Now monitor thyroid as well. TSH 1 to 2.5 is perfect. For T3 and T4 in the upper range. Always make sure thyroid is in check. This can cause issues if it's out of range. Cortisol control to avoid stress, avoid chronic stress. Test if fatigue persists. Now, cortisol can cause a lot of goddamn problems. Okay, so you always want this to be in range. Could be specific lifestyle factors. A lot of the time, if you're on a blast, the blast will be causing the cortisol spikes. So you want this to be in range. Make sure you understand what compound is causing this issue. Just have everything fucking written out, okay, with data. TRT consideration. Only if your natural levels fail to recover after 6+ months, that's when you should consider TRT. Now, if you are having poor test values prior to hopping on, if you're in that even 100, 200, 300, 400 nanograms per deciliter range, you're considered low. You are considered low, and TRT may be a good option for you. You should know this before you hop on. If you're in that solid range, 500 is not the best, but it still is considered within range. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 1,000 natural. You probably won't ever see 1,000 nanograms per deciliter natural. That is considered a genetic phenom nowadays. But if you're within that 5, 6, 7, 8, 900 nanograms per deciliter natural, you're definitely in an amazing spot. So you don't really need TRT. But if you are already low, TRT would be an amazing option to consider. Now, if you come off, okay, this generally will not happen if you do your protocol correctly, but if you come off and your natural levels fail to recover after 6+ months, you might want to consider TRT. But if this happens, that was most likely due to the fact that you had low T to begin with. So please keep this in mind and make sure you get that preset of labs done to ensure that you understand where your hormones are at before hopping on. It's going to give you a very good look at when you're making the decision, should I take TRT? Okay, it will allow you to look at everything at a very conservative standpoint and just make your decisions based off data and not based off feelings, not based off guessing. Okay, so it's very important. Now, professional oversight for any hormone replacement is crucial. Okay, get a coach, go to a clinic, go to a doctor for TRT. Okay, now I know a lot of people that take UGL for TRT. Okay, it works, it's cheap. But if you're going to do this the right way and you really want to prioritize your health, just go to a clinic and make sure it's a reputable, good clinic, or just go to a doctor. Okay. I don't necessarily recommend going to a doctor for a lot of things, but if you're trying to get actual TRT and you need it, they will give it to you. It could just be a little difficult. If you're within that 300-400 range, they might consider you to be within the healthy range, which it's not. But again, doctors, they're looking at a different set of criteria. That's when a clinic would be excellent to utilize. Now, overall lifestyle integration is important too. So, consistent sleep and recovery, that is the foundation for all health markers here. Sleep. Okay, 8 hours of sleep is ideal per night. Get a fucking Whoop, get an Aura Ring, make sure you're tracking this shit because sleep is everything. The food you eat and the sleep you get will dictate your gains or your shreds. Sleep is literally the only way that you are recovering and growing and building that muscle. Without sleep, you will not grow. So having good sleep is so fucking important. Make sure you're getting that REM sleep, that deep sleep, good combo of both. You're going to be solid and you will get gains. Now, anti-aging habits is important too. Okay, I fucked up with this a lot early on. Okay, I partied a lot in the past prior to taking gear. I've taken crazy ass cycles. That's why I aged a little quicker, right? But you want to make sure you have this in range so that doesn't happen to you if you give a fuck, right? Intermittent fasting is cool. It is something that can help off cycle, of course. Okay. And if you're trying to get gains, do not do this shit. For shredding, it can be very beneficial, but for bulking and packing on size, you should never even have the word fasting in your brain at all. Okay. It should not fucking be there. You're never going to do that shit. Sauna, if tolerated, can help as well, just to release all those toxins, just make sure that everything is good. Polyphenol rich foods can help too. Okay. So all this shit is very important if you are trying to avoid rapid aging. And if you're taking compounds with high androgenicity like Trendmasteron, this will definitely age you quick. And if you're taking compounds that bloat you too, okay? There's a lot of things with gear involves quicker aging, rapid aging if you're doing it incorrectly. So just make sure that you're on top of all this shit prior. Body comp goals as well. Stay under 15% body fat to reduce risk. You should not be taking a blast if you are above 15%. 15 to 20, I'd say, is fine, but you want to reduce your body fat down as much as possible. If you don't, that means that you don't have a good program prior to hopping on. You should be in a good point to begin with doing this shit. Your diet and your training should already be in a great, consistent point where you understand you're making natural progress. Okay, now you hop on the gear, it's going to be night and day difference when you finish that first blast. But if you're at like 20, 25, 30, 40% body fat, you obviously are doing something massively wrong naturally. So you hop on gear with this amount of body fat and it's going to be a problem. Okay, you're not going to see the results you want because you're not able to get results without the gear. You need to make sure your body fat's already in a good place to begin with and you will be amazing. Okay, you're going to reduce a lot of fucking risks that would be associated with having high body fat percentage hopping on. Now, have an emergency plan as well. No signs of issues like chest pain or dark urine. If you're running into this shit, okay, obviously something massively went wrong, but you want to make sure that your whole fucking protocol is in place prior to make sure this doesn't happen. But in the offshoot chance that it does, again, everyone's fucking different. If you're starting with a low dose, work your way up, this will not happen to you. But you should understand what can happen if you're running into like massive chest pain or very fucking dark urine. You know something very wrong is going on, and that's when you should take your ass to the goddamn ER because it could be fatal. Okay, again, if you're doing this correctly, you have proper guidance, your protocols in check, you're on top of your labs, this should not happen. If you're ramping up your dose properly, starting low, working your way up, this should not happen. There's a lot of things that you can do to almost guarantee that this will not happen. But again, there is no guarantees. Anything can happen with this shit. Everyone's genetically different. And that's why you have to get your health prereqs done prior to ensure you don't have some type of weird heart condition before hopping on, or a weird fucking disease that could fuck with anything with your body here. Look at Ziz. Look at all these people in the past that had genetic heart conditions. They hop on and then they run into a quick fatality, okay, an early fatality. You don't want this to happen to you, which is why it's very important to be on top of your health prior and know these signs of something going very wrong. Do not just ignore it if it happens. Know it and take action. Now, mindset as well. View your health as the ultimate gain for sustained progress, because it really is. Okay, if you run into a fucking problem, if you run into a heart problem or a cardiovascular problem or a liver or kidney problem, it's going to cause you to get off, and then all of that stress will be for nothing because you're just going to regress back to a very base point that you don't want to be at. If you run into a massive problem, it will stall all progress and it will bring you back many steps. So you just want to make sure you're viewing your health as the main point for that progression, because the healthier you are, the longer you can do this for, and you will be able to actually get a crazy ass physique while being able to live a long, healthy life as well. Now, the last slide here is when to scale back or stop. If you have persistent abnormal blood work, you want to pause cycles until resolved. If shit is completely out of whack and you think you're taking the proper precautions to get it back down, you get your bloods done again, it's still off. You take another precaution, you go back, get your bloods done, it's still off. Something's wrong. Pause the cycle, just come off everything. Except for like a very low dose of test, just to make sure that your hormones are still in range and figure it the fuck out. If you're only on a low dose of test and this is happening, come off the test. Come off absolutely everything until everything is resolved. You'll be good. Cardiovascular events as well, immediate cessation and lifestyle overhaul if you run into a massive cardiovascular problem, like a heart attack, a stroke, something like this. Obviously, this is a huge red flag, and if this happens, you most likely will just completely cut the gear off from that point forward. But again, it shouldn't happen. Okay, if you're doing this shit properly, it should not happen. But if it does happen, you of course can't continue. That's where you see bodybuilders that end up croaking because they keep pushing it past those warning signs that they're given. Fertility goals as well. Prioritize your family planning over enhancements always. Okay, if you're younger, 20s, 30s, you still haven't had a kid, make sure that you are seriously prioritizing this, because the only reason that we're here as humans is to reproduce and then leave the earth. Okay, we're literally here to create another life and then leave the fucking earth. So this is very, very crucial. And when you get to that point in life where you're thinking about having a kid, you want to have the option to fucking do it, bro. You want to have the option to be able to have that child instead of having that option taken away from you, okay? Infertility is a bitch. And I know a lot of people, okay? I've had clients that come to me. We've tried to get their shit back, okay? I've definitely restored a lot of people when it comes to having fertility issues because of long-term cycling and long-term being on gear. But some people just too fucking late, dude. Even with anything, any fertility plan, any protocol you put them on to get that back, it's just done. Like they're done because they fucked up. Okay, they've been taking gear for 5 years nonstop, and they didn't do any type of protocol for fertility. Now it's just gone. They don't have that choice. So you have to do this. Okay, you absolutely have to prioritize your fertility. And even if you're older, 40, 50, okay, you're probably past that point, but you don't want to remove that ability to do this, okay? Because who knows what the fuck will happen in the future, right? You always want to prioritize family over anything else. Now, age factors, well, reassess the risks over 40 with more conservative approaches. The older you get, the worse the sides are going to be, okay? The more sensitive you are, the more prone to sides. Just make sure that you're more conservative with your protocols. Do not push crazy ass cycles. Don't push toxic compounds. Just take it very light and work your way up, because you will be more sensitive to sides, okay? And it's going to hit a lot harder than it would someone who's more resilient, younger, okay? So just understand that shit and make sure you're doing that properly. Now, professional input is crucial for any red flags and long-term health monitoring, which is why it's so important to get a coach. I'm a fucking coach. I can help you. If not me, get someone else, okay? It doesn't really matter who you choose, but it is important to get a professional on your side with this stuff, just to make sure that you're doing it correctly. But you can do this on your own. If you do the proper research, watch the whole boot camp, take notes, like you can do this on your own. I did this on my own with no help. But I ran into basically every side in the book. So it's up to you whether you want to just bypass that shit or do it on your own. Either way, it doesn't matter. Just make sure that you're data driven. Look at all the goddamn data that you're collecting and collect it. Okay, collect it, look at it. You're going to be good. If you do this, you cannot fail. But if you don't, you're guessing and you will fuck up in one way or another. You absolutely will fuck up. Don't think you won't. The bloods, yes, it's an out-of-pocket expense. It sucks, I know. But running into sides is more of a bitch, okay? And it's going to be more costly in the future when you have health issues, when you have to go to the fucking hospital, okay? When you have to get gyno surgery or you have to get a fucking hair transplant. Like, it's going to be more costly to not get the bloods and not be on top of your health, okay? So just make sure you're doing that shit. This is going to conclude the boot camp. So now we're on to bigger and better things here. This whole boot camp has been a blast. I hope that you guys learned a lot from this, okay? If you want to go back and watch any of these, this is the full section here. I have the full playlist on my YouTube, so go check that shit out if you just want to watch specific parts of the camp. But it's been a long time coming with this camp, okay? It's been like 2 months of me doing this shit. I really just want you guys to be safe when it comes to gear. It should be a smooth sailing experience hopping on these compounds, okay? The amount of people, the amount of homies that I've had, the buddies, The amount of clients I've had that came to me that ran into massive problems that could easily have been avoided is insane. Okay, and this is not how it should be. If you just do things properly, you plan things in advance, you run your protocols in a conservative approach, start low, ramp up, do not hop into crazy blasts off the rip, be data driven, track your labs, all your health, get your health prereqs done, make sure you're on top of this shit pre, mid, and post blast, you can't really lose. Okay, you can run into short-term sides, of course, and you should expect this when you're new, but you really can't lose in the long term because you're going to understand what's happening and you will be able to mitigate that long-term damage unlike what's the fucking word? Unlike someone that is guessing. You can't fucking guess, dude. That's how you're going to lose. So once again, it has been an honor to do this series, guys. I hope that you learned a lot. Please like and subscribe if you liked, and drop a comment if you have any questions. I will be responding, but I'm not going to be responding for long because I'm doing this shit full time now. I'm going to be dropping a shit ton of YouTube videos for you guys. So it's going to be that, guys. Enjoy this shit. Again, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.